I had travelled from the twin industrial cities of Mannheim and Ludwigshafen on the Rhine, about 19 kilometres northwest of Heidelberg in southwest Germany. Heidelberg is a university town, which can trace its beginnings to the 5th century. The river Neckar flows by the town, which is lined by wooded hillsides, and its old town with its main street or Hauptstrasse. The Hauptstrasse is a mile-long pedestrian street, leading to the fountains of the market, the Church of the Holy Spirit, and running the length of the old town. A favourite place of my namesake, the artist J.M.W. Turner. The marketplace stands a short side street walk to the Alte Brücke, the old bridge, crossing the Neckar to the north side of the town. On the bridge, the statue of the Prince Karl Theodor refers to the legend that he fathered almost 200 illegitimate children. Nevertheless, Karl Theodor had the old wooden bridge, which was destroyed by a storm, rebuilt in stone in 1784. Another statue on the bridge, the goddess Minerva, was also placed in honour of the Prince Elector. As I walked across the bridge, I came to the north side of the river, and a strenuous climb took me to the steep slopes of the Heidelberg, or Holy Mountain, and the Philosopher's Way. A well-known lover's haunt, the Philosophenweg snakes through steep vineyards as it overlooks the river, the town of Heidelberg, and its castle. Traditionally, Heidelberg's philosophers and university professors would walk and talk along the pathway.
Это то, что я говорю сейчас про Женю в Америке, например. Что я не хочу, чтобы она... Да.
The gardens are as inspiring as the views which go with them. Farther up the mountain lies the ruined 11th century monastery of St. Michael. The Philosopher's Way is a place to pass a quiet few minutes near the gardens. Then the steep descent into the new part of Heidelberg brought me into the traffic and a ride on the extensive tram system, the public transport arrangements converging busily at Bismarckplatz. A 20-minute train ride took me to the medieval village of Neckar on a rainy morning which offered little in optimism. The village is built astride a tributary of the river Neckar and is home to its castles, no less than 4 dating to between 1100 and 1230, and built by the family Landshad von Steinach. A walk along a steeply climbing track took me to the Mittelberg first. Built into a Renaissance palace in the 16th century, and with Gothic additions 300 years later. From here, I continued along the track to the next castle on the way. The Hinterberg had been owned by various families, but by 1653 it was owned by a line of the family von Metternich for 100 years. Then the bishoprics of Worms and Speyer acquired the castles until the ruined Hinterberg was sold in 1803 to the barons of Dorth, who gave the castle to the state in 1910. In the distance, I could see the castle Aschwalben-Nest, but the rain came down heavier, and I decided not to persevere further. There was another castle to see, this time in Heidelberg, and with an easier climb from the Kornmarkt, by the Bergbahn to the Schloss and the Königstuhl, or King's Chair. It's possible to walk up the steep cobbled Burgweg, but whichever way you do it, the arrival at the castle is well worth the trip. Prince Elector Ruprecht III erected the first building in the inner courtyard as a royal residence in the early 15th century, but it has been destroyed and rebuilt numerous times since. As a result, the castle is a mixture of styles, ranging from the Gothic to Renaissance. Prince Elector Philip is said to have arranged the transfer of the Fountain Hall's columns from a decayed palace of Charlemagne from Ingelheim, nearly 90 kilometers to the north, to Heidelberg during the 15th century. It was Mark Twain's description of Heidelberg which have made the castle internationally famous. In his travel book, A Tramp Abroad, he described the castle as deserted, discrowned, beaten by the storms, but royal still and beautiful. Preservation of the castle is always a priority, and there is always work going on there, as when I saw these people during my visit. I saw a large number of visitors heading down a slope into part of the castle and wondered what lay down there. Not surprisingly, it was to the cafe. But more surprisingly down there was the site of the great Heidelberg tun, an extremely large wine vat constructed of 130 oak trees and of a capacity of nearly 44,000 gallons. The vat is so huge, the story goes, that an entire orchestra could fit into it, and that's exactly what happened during a banquet of the Elector Karl Ludwig. The orchestra sat patiently until the end of the banquet, when they suddenly burst into a huge echoing cacophony of music. Since 1957, the Pharmacy Museum has been located in Heidelberg Castle. As I walked around the museum, I discovered the history and advancement of the apothecary trade from ancient times right up to the 20th century. In addition to the Italian, Dutch and German earthenware, the apothecary jars of German origin were interesting. I found rare apothecary workshops and an alchemy laboratory, where you can learn a lot about the healing methods of previous generations that often seem peculiar to us today. In the centre of a room away from the noise of those upstairs, There is the model of an athanor, a typical long-term furnace, which was customary in many dispensaries until the 18th century. Subsequently, the tour leads directly into a pharmacist's shop of the early 19th century. The cherry wood furnishings, made according to the instructions of Christian J. Faulhaber, its owner, once decorated the Crown Pharmacy at Ulm. Technical laboratory glasses that were used above all for distillation are arranged down the stairs at the distillery walls as a representative part of one of the biggest collections in the world. Then I came back into the shop with displays of truffles and incense to buy. It had been an interesting few days in this part medieval, part modern city. Travelling round was so easy with the trams, buses and trains to take you to the sights and museums of the town. Near the old bridge, the sculpture of a brass monkey harbours a wealth of superstition. Touch the mirror in front for wealth, the outstretched fingers to ensure you return to Heidelberg. And if you manage to touch the mice surrounding the monkey, you may be the producer of many children, something which the Prince Karl Theodor must have had some connection with as he stood on the bridge at the monkey's side. Or perhaps not. Stand at the walls of the Heidelberger Schloss and view the great tapestry of the town spread out in front of you as it stands with the Neckar River flowing past its medieval splendour. It is not surprising that the artist Turner was so attracted to the town, or that Mark Twain commented on its drunken, duelling fraternities. A town of grand period houses, lots of cafes, and even more little shops and bars. Towering above this delightful scene is the famous Church of the Holy Spirit. And when the sun has set, to remember the lights on the castle as they were reflected onto the river below. A place to come back to.